Hey man, we got another reaction, man. We just reacted to the that Jaden Daniels, man. Make sure y'all check that out if y'all didn't. But we got this right here, man. Luke Kuechly, man. Meet the smartest player in the NFL, man. This nigga was a dog, but nigga was a dog. Everything you wanted in the middle linebacker, he got it. Well, pass defense, run defense, he had it all.
Luke Kuechly was a football genius. He was so good
He
at
had
reading
it all.
offenses that he'd be in the backfield before anybody could block him. As quarterbacks made their checks and audibles pre-snap, he'd be right there
Come on,
with them,
mic check,
adjusting his
1 2 1 2.
defense to
I mean, he had it
perfection.
all.
Opponents were amazed and
He had it
frustrated by
all.
Kuechly's ability to call out their plays at the line. But how did he become the smartest linebacker the NFL has ever seen? And why did he leave the game in the prime of his career? The road to outsmarting NFL offenses started when Kuechly was
Man, I
just a
think he
kid.
like
He always
retired
understood the
early too. I
game on
think he
a deeper
retired
level,
dumb early.
and what he lacked in athleticism, he made up for with intellect. When he got to high school at St. Xavier in Cincinnati, Ohio, he helped make them a powerhouse. His coach, local legend Steve Specht, introduced Kuechly to the foundation of the mental game, film study, and the youngster was a quick learner. According to Specht, Luke understood every position on the field and was always a step ahead of everyone else. So Kuechly was an all-everything player. As a junior, leading St. Xavier to a 15-0 record and a state title. Then, as a senior, establishing himself among the best high school linebackers in the country. But as college approached, his recruiting stock was low. You see, Kuechly was only 200 pounds soaking wet, and he wasn't yet the thumper we knew him as in the NFL. And because of that, he was rated as just a 3-star recruit and the number 44 outside linebacker prospect in the class of 2009. But there was some interest, and Kuechly's choice came down to 4 academic
Showed him
powers:
his name.
Stanford,
Showed.
Duke, Virginia, and Boston College. He eventually went to BC because
BC.
it was a Catholic institution similar to St. Xavier and a pipeline for a lot of St. X players before Luke, so it just made sense. But he still had to go out and prove himself. He said that early on, he got his teeth kicked in by his grown man teammates.
I went in there, I was 18 years old, playing against guys that are 22, 23. You get your teeth kicked in and you figure out how bad you want to do it.
Fortunately, while that was happening, he was being schooled on how to play the college game by a great tutor. Wes Davis was a defensive back at BC, and he sat with Kuechly in the film room for hours on end and showed him how to break down an opponent. And in almost no time, Kuechly's powers of observation were superhuman. Armed with
And shout out to whoever helped him though, cause he made one of the best linebackers in whoever played football. For real though. Shout out to who shout out who helped you in that film
that
room
mental
though,
edge,
for
he
real.
became a playmaker from his outside linebacker position. And as a freshman, he was named the ACC's Defensive Rookie of the Year. In his sophomore year, BC had a hole at inside linebacker, and the coaches believed that Kuechly could fill it. Now, Luke wasn't so sure, but he wanted to keep playing, so he committed to learning the position. And this is when he became a tackling machine. Over his 3-year career at BC, Kuechly set program records for career
It's just
tackles
you
with
not even
532
sure
and
about,
single-season
you know,
tackles
being a
in his
dog
junior
at
year
it.
with
That's what I'm
191.
saying,
And
like,
after his junior master
do
class of a
anything,
season,
brother,
Kuechly
shit.
was ready to pursue a PhD in football by playing in the NFL. And
He didn't even know he could play linebacker. He played linebackers. Now he ended up being one of the best who ever played linebacker.
talent
It's
evaluators
crazy.
loved what he brought to the table. According to the league's pre-draft profile, Kuechly was one of the most instinctual and technically sound linebackers to come out of the draft in years. He had all the tools to be an immediate starter in the NFL and shore up the entire defense.
This week, we're hosting a free trading and investing workshop right here in Fort Lauderdale. Inside the
Buddy.
But during his time at BC, he didn't make a ton of plays at the line of scrimmage. So there was some concern. Could he be physical enough to survive in the pros? And it was just a matter of time before they found out.
The Carolina Panthers select Luke Kuechly, linebacker, Boston College.
The Panthers head coach at the time was Ron Rivera, and Rivera knew NFL defense. He was a linebacker for one of the greatest defenses ever, the 1985 Chicago Bears. And before being hired by the Panthers, he was a defensive coordinator for the Bears and the San Diego Chargers. And now he had Luke Kuechly, who he could mold into the quarterback of the Carolina defense. But Luke didn't take on that role right away. The Panthers already had a tremendous middle linebacker, John Beeson. So after the draft,
I ain't gonna lie, watching the Panthers like 2015, 2016, 2017. Bitch, I damn never been a Panthers fan, boy. Luke Kuechly, boy, you got Cam Newton, them boys. You got Stewart. Them boys.
Moved Kuechly back to the
I think they
outside.
went like
And
15
just as he
one
did in
season.
college, Kuechly learned the pro game from older teammates. Guys like Beeson, outside backer Thomas Davis, tight end Greg Olson, and DB Captain
Oh my
Munner.
God.
But even they
that
couldn't
tight end,
prepare
boy.
Luke for the career-defining moment that came
Boy, that
next.
white boy was
After week
something else,
4,
boy.
Beeson went to the sideline with a knee injury. And 2 weeks later, he underwent season-ending surgery. And just like that, Kuechly was put into an extremely difficult spot. He was tapped in to fill Beeson's role as the center of the defense. That's a lot for anyone, much less a 21-year-old rookie, but he handled it like a seasoned pro. He basically lived in the film room, and when Sundays rolled around, he was an
you gotta
absolute
be in that
playmaker. Playing in all 16 games as a rookie, Kuechly led the
Somebody feel that
NFL with
hook.
164 tackles. He
Right
also
there.
intercepted 2 passes. And with him as the anchor, the Panthers'
Come here, boy.
defense improved. In 2012, Carolina went from 27th in the league in scoring defense to 18th. After the season, Kuechly was voted NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year over another talented linebacker, Bobby Wagner,
That boy
of the
Bobby
Seattle
was like
Seahawks.
that too,
But
though.
would Kuechly be just a one-season
Yeah, boy,
wonder?
that
He didn't
legend of
have the
boom.
athleticism to match some of the other great backers in the game. Would offenses
of boom,
adjust
bitch,
and
I'm
expose
proud,
him?
my
The
legend of
answer to
boom.
that was an emphatic
Right.
no. In Kuechly's second year, he took his game to the highest level. Once again, starting in all 16 games in 2013, Luke recorded 156 tackles and snagged 4 interceptions. With him calling the shots, the Panthers allowed the
Come here, boy.
second fewest points in the league. And on the back of their elite defense, Carolina finished the season 12-4,
really thought he was
winning the
gonna punch
NFC
that shit
South
out,
for the
dude.
first time in 5 years. Kuechly made himself impossible for award voters to ignore, as he was named first-team All-Pro and NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. After just 2 seasons, Kuechly
boy
was
Colin
already
Kaepernick.
a star. Inside the Panthers facility, he was the defense's North
I
Star.
don't know. I seen some shit. I know this video about Luke Kuechly, but like Colin Kaepernick. I seen some video about like Colin Kaepernick still trying to play in the NFL, bro. Give it up, bro. It's over with. Colin Kaepernick. If you watching this video, bro, give it up, bro. It's over with. It's done. You booty cheeks now, bro. If you was something, bro, a team would have been picked you up, bro. You ass, bro. It's over with.
And he relentlessly
Start
put in the
playing.
work to
Come
be
on, it's
great.
over with.
During the week, Kuechly would regularly log 12-hour days, with the last 2 to 3 hours devoted to film study. He needed intel on what the other team was going to do on game day.
I wasn't a good enough athlete to just go out there and like play.
Yeah.
Like I needed to have an advantage and I needed to have a feel for what was going on.
Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy once compared Kuechly's preparation to that of Peyton Manning, the ultimate film study guy. Dungy said Kuechly was one step ahead of everyone else.
Guy that is totally prepared, that is going to know what's going to happen
Yeah,
before
he
it
was like
takes
the
place
leader of
because he
that,
has
Panthers
studied so much.
defense.
And
The
once
leader, the
Luke
head
knew
of
the
that
play,
team.
he was ready to pounce as soon as the ball was
Give me
snapped.
that.
Davis saw it firsthand.
You'll see a lot of
And
times
that's on Drew
teams come
Brees,
out in
too.
certain formations, and as soon as the ball is snapped, Luke run right to the play.
But some of his teammates didn't always appreciate his detective skills. Olsen, for one, hated going up against Kuechly in practice.
You couldn't practice against them because you'd ruin practice.
Yeah, 'cause you
knew
already
every
know
play
what
that
you
were gonna
about.
run.
That's why.
Olsen claimed the Panthers' offensive assistants would ask Rivera to take Kuechly off the field
Olsen
before they
just ain't want
practiced a
that
trick
smoke.
play, just
Man,
so
Olsen
he
just ain't
wouldn't
want
blow
that
it up.
smoke,
And
man.
the work he put in the film room and on the practice field showed up on game days. 2014 was another
You see a
elite
nigga
season for
doing shit
Kuechly
like
as
that
he
in
led the
practice.
league
I
in
don't wanna go
tackles
versus
and was
that
named
either.
first-team All-Pro for the second time in 3 seasons. But despite Luke establishing himself as the NFL's premier linebacker and the Panthers having a top defense, they were still missing the postseason success. They'd won their division 2 seasons in a row now, but couldn't make it past the divisional round. Then, in 2015, everything changed. The Panthers were
2015,
peaking
yeah,
as a
the
team.
season
On
I'm talking
offense,
about.
Cam Newton
Yeah,
had an
damn.
MVP season. And on defense, Luke Kuechly was as good as ever. On Thanksgiving Day, his football genius was on full display for a national audience against the Cowboys.
Oh, y'all
Late
remember
in the
this
second
game.
quarter,
I
the
think he had,
Panthers
like,
had a
3
blitz call on,
interceptions.
but Thomas Davis showed it too early. Cowboys
Yeah, that-
QB Tony Romo responded
remember
by
this
calling
shit.
an audible. Kuechly countered that by changing the defense. Then came one of the signature plays of his career. As Romo dropped back to pass, Kuechly ran with tight end Jason Witten down the middle. Then, anticipating where Romo was going with the ball, he broke off the
He-
coverage and took an interception to the
Yeah.
house.
So he cut right down the hash. And I'm like, he's not, that's not a route. So then like you push through that and then that guy ran a sit and I was like, I'm just going to jump. I'm going to jump the dig and hope they run a dig.
Kuechly intercepted
Yeah.
Romo on the Cowboys' next series too, showing America what Panthers fans had seen his entire career. a player capable of outsmarting even veteran quarterbacks. The Panthers were a juggernaut that season, finishing the year 15-1 as the best team in the NFL. On top of that, they finally had success in the playoffs. First, beating the Seahawks in the divisional round in a game where Kuechly had 11 tackles and a pick six. Then in the NFC Championship against the Arizona Cardinals, Kuechly stole the show once again, this time with 8 tackles, a fumble recovery, and yet another pick six, en route to a 49-15 blowout. Then the Super Bowl would be a matchup between the two greatest brains the NFL has ever seen. Luke Kuechly and the Panthers taking on Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos.
Wow. Incredible. Amazing. My go-to is Lumify eye drops.
Lumify dramatically reduces.
Panthers defense held Denver to just 194 yards of total offense. But the Broncos defense, led by Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, was the difference as Denver won 24-10. Kuechly was phenomenal once again, leading the game in tackles and recording a sack, but it wasn't enough. After just 4 seasons in the NFL, Kuechly had been to a Super Bowl, was a first-team All-Pro 3 times, and won 2 major individual awards. Captain America, the name given to him by Cam Newton, looked invincible.
Never a doubt. Never a doubt. As long as we got Captain America, Luke August Kuechly on our team.
But his body was saying something different. In 2015, Kuechly suffered the first concussion of his career. He claimed it was his first concussion ever, and it caused him to miss 3 games. In Week 17 of that year, he also suffered a shoulder injury that required surgery. And then, in 2016, a terrifying on-field incident altered the course of Kuechly's career. In Week 11, against the Saints, Kuechly took on New Orleans running back Tim Hightower. And unfortunately, the crown of Hightower's helmet hit Kuechly squarely in the face mask. The play didn't look all that dangerous, but it left Kuechly sitting on the ground, dazed and confused. As the trainers rushed to check on their star, Kuechly was sobbing uncontrollably. He didn't know why he was crying. He just knew that something was wrong with him.
I remember sitting on the field, and I was like trying to figure out what was going on with me.
As Kuechly was loaded onto the cart, the tears kept flowing, making the scene that much sadder. All around pro football, people were heartbroken as they watched, fearing that this could be the end for one of the game's brightest stars. Doctors diagnosed Kuechly with a grade 3 concussion, the most severe. He missed the final 6 games of the 2016 season while he was kept in the NFL's concussion protocol. Luke was so good to start the season that he was still named a second-team All-Pro, but that was now 2 major head injuries in as many seasons. How much longer could Kuechly play? In 2017, he was back on the field for Week 1, and over the next 3 years, he looked like the old Luke Kuechly. Each season, his tackle total increased, and he was an All-Pro all 3 years, twice being named to the first team. Kuechly was the definition of an Ironman, playing 48 out of a possible 49 games, including the playoffs. But that one missed game in the 2017 season was due to another concussion. He was up to 3 in 3 seasons. UNC professor Dr. Kevin Guskowitz, who worked with the NFL and conducted extensive research on brain injuries, told Sports Illustrated that the 3rd concussion increased the risk of long-term damage. Kuechly also suffered another shoulder injury in 2017 that required surgery. In 2018 and 19, he got through the season unscathed. But as the 19 season was ending, the battered superstar came to the conclusion that he couldn't go on. The injuries had taken too much out of him, and he couldn't accept playing at 70% of what he was at his peak. It felt unfair to his teammates, so he made a painful decision. In January of 2020, after 8 spectacular seasons, Luke Kuechly retired from the NFL at age 28.
One way to play this game since I was a little kid is to play fast and play physical and play strong, and at this point, I don't know if I'm able to do that anymore.
Ultimately, his greatest asset his entire career was his brain, and now it was time to protect it before it was too late.
And I just wanted to make sure that I could live the life I wanted to live when I got done playing.
But just because he was done playing didn't mean he was leaving football entirely. In 2020, the Panthers hired him to be a scout. It seemed like an ideal role. He could keep watching tape and studying other players. But Kuechly only did it for a year. It just wasn't for him. Then came an opportunity that took him full circle.
Yeah, I know that hurt. Like, you step away from football and you come being a coach, then you watch people play, you be like, God damn, nigga want to suit up again. I know.
Teaching ball to a new generation of players. He became an assistant coach for a middle school football team in Charlotte, alongside former teammates Greg Olsen and Jonathan Stewart. Then, in 2022, Kuechly rejoined the Panthers organization, but in an entirely different capacity. This one allowed him to make fans smarter. He was hired as a part-time color commentator on the team's radio broadcasts. From the booth, he could diagnose plays in real time and impart his vast football wisdom. Then, in January 2025, as he finished his third season behind the mic, he was named as a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. And while he wasn't made a Hall of Famer this time around, there's no doubt that his resume is worthy of a bust in Canton. He was an All-Pro in every season of his career except for his first, when he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. He was a Defensive Player of the Year, and perhaps his greatest accomplishment is that he's unanimously known as the smartest defensive player to ever lace him up. If you enjoyed this video, stick with Blitz.
Like I'm saying, Luke Kuechly was definitely one of the best linebackers I ever watched, dude. Aside them injuries shortened his career up, dude.